Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to a very special episode of the X Factor Sports Podcast. Season 7, Episode 7. You can always catch the X Factor Sports Podcast on YouTube and Rumble every Wednesday night. And also, if you like to listen to podcasts, any place you can hear a podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, you can always catch the X Factor Sports Podcast there and catch up on all the first 6 seasons of the show. All right. Tonight is a very special episode. We are collaborating with PodcastThon. Okay. PodcastThon is a website. Over 1,600 podcasters all over the world have come together this week for PodcastThon. It's a marathon of podcasts. It started on the 15th on Saturday. It's going all the way to Friday the 21st. I want to thank them for allowing us to join in. But the unique part about PodcastThon, every podcaster that is in this marathon, they're actually donating or dedicating their episodes to a special charitable cause. And we're doing the same thing here at the X Factor Sports Podcast. We're actually dedicating this episode to the American Cancer Society and all of those who are struggling with cancer. So family, loved ones, people you know, everyone around the world has been affected by cancer in some form or fashion. We just want to tell you all to stay strong, and we're thinking about you, and this episode is for you. Okay. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started like we always do. And let's get into these layup lines. All right. That's where we do the quick news. We break down what's been happening throughout the week, real brief headlines about sports. And the headlines we want to get into, we're going to start with the NFL. So last week or over the weekend, we had some people make some big money. All right. So let's go ahead and congratulate them. Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins signed 4-year extensions, and Jamar Chase became the highest paid player outside of a quarterback position. So congrats to both of these guys. They deserve it. All right. I love seeing when teams pay players that deserve to get paid. More importantly, paying players that you drafted that play well and deserve to get paid. So congrats to T and Jamar Chase. But this has also shown us the direction the Bengals are going into. All right. They are going to double down on the offensive firepower that Joe Burrow has asked him to. Now, in these next few years, they're going to have to draft well, right? Because majority of your money is going into 3 players. They might try to keep Trey Hendrickson on the defensive side. He led the league in sacks last year. So it would make sense for them to try to keep him at least to spearhead the defense. But they've told you what they're going to do. They're leaning into that offense. It's an offensive league. They're doubling down on it, tripling down on it. So we'll see if they have success. Hopefully the GMs can draft well on the defensive side of the ball and they can get back to a Super Bowl. Okay. So also Cooper Kupp signed a 3-year 40, or I think it's 45 million, but a 3-year deal to go to the Seahawks, went back home. Cooper Kupp is actually from Washington State. And me and my boys was talking about this at poker on Thursday last week. We were talking about what's going to happen with Cooper Kupp. And I was saying he's going to go to a bad organization because somebody wants to give him the years. He's going to go somewhere to a team that wants to give him years, because the Rams didn't want to give him the years because of his injury history, right? He aged really fast. So one of my boys said he might go to Seattle. I don't know if it was out of the blue or he knew something, but it happened. So we got a text group, and I told him, I was like, look like you look like a prophet right now. So congrats to Cooper Kupp, getting the 3 years and getting the money going back home. Now, the way I see Cooper Kupp is it's like an Adam Thielen situation, right? Adam Thielen was good at Minnesota. He became a number 1 before Justin Jefferson got there. Kind of the same parallels of Cooper Kupp. Number 1 guy, Puka Nacua gets there. He gets hurt. They both get hurt. They get traded away. So I see Cooper Kupp he'll show flashes of what he used to be because he's a great route runner, but the athleticism is going to go, and he aged really fast. Injuries kind of aged him really fast. He was never freakishly athletic. He was a technician as a wide receiver. So I'm glad he got his money, but I think the Rams upgraded getting Devontae Adams. Then Derek Stingley Jr., He got 3 years, $90 million, something like that. So congrats to him too, right? Last week we talked about the Texans. What are they doing? Are they going to do anything for CJ Stroud on the offensive side? They let Laramie Tunsil go, but at least they kept their in-house drafted guys. This is something the Cowboys should probably take a look at. The thing that they did that the Cowboys don't do is they took care of their guys early, right? They know Derek Stingley's good. Excuse me. They paid him right away, gave him good money, and now he's locked in for the next 3 years. Why is that important? The salary cap is about to go up tremendously in the next 3 years, and the Texans are ahead of the curve, right? So they're not worrying about the offseason or training camp or holdouts for this guy. They already paid him, got it out the way. Now, whatever the market is in 3 years, it doesn't matter because they already got him locked up. Because the salary cap is $279 million now. I think in 2026, it goes up to 290, 295. And then in 2027, it goes up to $311 million. So the money's coming, right? But what the Texans did was preemptive. They paid their young guy right away because they know they're going to probably have to pay Stroud when this salary cap goes up. Unlike the Cowboys, every single year they got a guy holding out and waiting, and it hurts them in free agency because they don't know where their money's going. So I talked about last week, we don't know what the Houston Texans plan is. At least they did something good right here, locking up Derek Stingley Jr., great young player. I think he's got some all-pro years coming. Him and Pat Surtain will be two of the best young DBs in the AFC for years to come. All right. Now, NCAA, March Madness has started. The first 4 games already happened. 2 of the games happened yesterday. 2 more are happening as we speak. But I'm going to touch on it real brief because we got a segment where we're going to break down all of the regions and we're going to pick who we think's going to the Final Four out of each region, who's going to win those regions. So I just want to touch on some of the headlines of March Madness. Number 1, UNC got into the tournament, and they did deserve to get into it. All right, we already know that. Here at the X Factor Sports Podcast, we do real talk, unbiased takes. If you're not familiar with us, get familiar. They didn't deserve to get in. However, they're in there, right? But let's not play around with the audience. Everybody understands why they got in there. It's for the revenue, just like Texas. It's for the revenue, all right? You rather watch Texas, UNC, or you rather watch West Virginia. Sorry, West Virginia fans, you don't draw enough attention on the basketball court like Carolina and like Texas does. These are blue blood campuses, blue blood colleges, universities. They're going to draw more money. They're going to draw more viewership, and that's what it's about. It doesn't even matter that the head of the committee is the AD of North Carolina. I mean, we see that. But it doesn't even matter. UNC is a historical university, and they have a draw. All right, they had an opportunity to get in. They're going to get in. They won yesterday. They're going to play on. So it is what it is. It already happened. Number 2, I'm glad Duke did not get the number 1 overall seed after seeing these brackets. All right, if they would have gotten that South region, they would have had to deal with 2 or 3 30-win teams in that region. No, I think Florida's actually in a region with multiple 30-win teams. But I'm glad because that South region is not easy. So Auburn, you can have it. Go ahead. They would have to run to Louisville again, Michigan State. I think Texas A&M is in there, Texas Tech. I got the bracket right here because we're going to go over – I'm going to go over my bracket on the air so y'all can see who I got going to the Final Four. But there's some potential pitfalls there. Louisville and UNC are in that region, so I understand why they didn't get it. Now, Duke deserved to be the number 1 seed, but we all understand it's about ratings, it's about viewership, and fair is a place where they judge pigs. All right. Life ain't fair. It's all good. I'm just glad they didn't give it to them because I see the region that they in the East, and I'm cool with it. Now, did they deserve it? I mean, you look at it and tell me, right? They won the ACC. They got 31 wins. They beat Auburn head-to-head. At the last ranking, Duke is ranked number 1 in the country overall. and Auburn is ranked 4th. So you tell me who sounds like a number 1 overall seed. But I'm good with it. Y'all can have that region. We'll see what Duke can do in their region. Okay. Now, that leads me over to this. Okay. The selection committee. What are y'all looking for when it comes to selecting these teams? When it comes to breaking down the brackets, the regions, all that, what exactly is the criteria? Because like the college football playoff, there's always going to be it's imperfect, right? So just like college football playoff, there's always going to be a debate. Somebody should have been here. Somebody should have been there. I understand that. But there has to be some type of clear-cut criteria about Selection Sunday, right? So we put in the quad 1 wins, and the quad 1 wins is supposed to hold weight. But when you got a team that had 13 quad 1 games and only won one of them, is it you want them to schedule the quad 1 wins? They don't necessarily have to win them. They just got to be on your schedule. Or do they actually have to go out and compete and win, right? We talk about strength of schedule. What is the point of a strength of schedule if you don't win the games? The purpose of college, the purpose of competition is to win, what I thought, right? So when you're putting together these resumes, regardless of who you're playing, if you're not winning these games, you are not good enough to get in a tournament. At least that's what we think. So I just want a clear-cut criteria of what we're looking for out of these teams. So if we dive deeper into Selection Sunday, we all know West Virginia deserved to be in the tournament over Texas and UNC, just like we talked about in the layup lines, but it's better TV. So everybody's getting what they want. If you watch North Carolina and San Diego State last night, North Carolina was basically, it looked like they were auditioning to get in the tournament. Even though they already got in, it was like they were trying to prove a point, like we belong here. And they showed that. So it's all good. Again, can't cry over spilled milk. It is what it is. They're in. But moving forward, what is the criteria? Is it going to be like this for all schools? Should I not schedule quad 1 teams and just beat everybody? Like where is the middle ground of winning games? Texas has 15 losses and they're about to get in the tournament, right? Louisville was 18-1, 18-2 in the ACC. Had a great year. And they get rewarded by getting an 8 seed, they get to play in Lexington at least, but still, how did they get an 8 seed after winning 18 games in the ACC and get into an ACC championship game? So I'm just trying to understand what the criteria is. And then they finished off the season being ranked number 10th in the country. So where does the 8 seed fall, right? If we're multiplying by 4 because it's 4 quadrants, the math ain't mathing. If you ranked number 10 in the country, how do you become an 8 seed, right? You made it to a Power 5 conference tournament championship game. You were second place in your conference. You had the same amount of wins. I think Texas had 19 total wins. Louisville had 18 conference wins. So where's the criteria? And then I think on the other side, because like I said, I got the sheet right here. Baylor was 19-14, and they're a 9 seed. And Louisville won 18 conference games, and they were an 8 seed. So it doesn't make sense. So what are we doing here? So all I'm saying is this. The NCAA needs to have a clear-cut criteria of what they're looking for and just tell us. If we know it's a business already, right? You want the blue bloods in. But if one team loses this many games and another team wins this many games, there's no way in hell they should be on the same level in terms of the seeding goes. It's just weird. Then what's the point of the AP polls and the USA Today and the coaches polls? What's the point of that if it doesn't translate to March Madness? So what are we doing? So it just needs to be clear-cut criteria on that, right? And I know it's an imperfect system, but if you're going to make these type of egregious mistakes with the selection committee, at least have the balls to tell us it's about ratings. That's why you want certain teams in, and that's why you want certain teams in certain regions. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Are y'all happy with the selection committee? Do y'all understand what they're looking for? Or is this going to get better? Is it going to get worse? You guys let me know what you think. Again, the X Factor Sports Podcast. We are on all social media platforms tonight because this is a special episode with PodcastThon dedicated to the American Cancer Society. All right. So let's switch it up. We're going to go ahead and get into the NBA, right? Now, the playoffs is coming in about a month. So we got a pretty good idea of who are the top seeds in the East and Western Conference. So I want to talk about the play-in tournament, all right? That's the team seeded 7 through 10. I want to talk about them and who I think is going to actually get into the play-in because there's a lot of teams jockeying for position right now. So let's go ahead and dive in and see who are the teams that will actually get in. All right, in this bracket, thanks to NBA.com, we're able to put this bracket up, and it just shows the seeding and kind of how the tournament format looks. But I'm going to break down the standings and tell y'all who I think is going to end up where when playoff time starts, okay? So in the Western Conference, I'm going to go with Golden State. They're the 6th seed right now, but I actually got them fall in the 7, and I got Minnesota jumping them and going to the 6th seed, getting out of the play-in and actually in the playoff. Now, Golden State, I think they're up 3-1 on Minnesota this season. So the tiebreaker is null and void. But I think Minnesota will just win more games. They got the easiest strength of schedule in the Western Conference for their remaining games. They had a tough loss on Monday night. So did Golden State, though. So that's a wash. But moving forward, I think Minnesota has the easiest strength of schedule. And Golden State, they got to rest Steph. He needs help. He's not able to sit down as much as he wants to. Game's getting physical. And, I mean, he's getting older. So I feel like Minnesota's going to jump him. Everybody's getting healthy at the right time. They got Rudy Gobert back. They got Mike Conley Jr. back. So they're looking good at the right time. They won 7 straight games before losing on Monday. So I think they're going in the right direction. Even though Golden State started out hot with Jimmy Butler, I just feel like Minnesota's going to jump them because of the strength of schedule. It's so much easier, okay? The Clippers are going to stay at 8 with Golden State at 7. Clippers will stay at 8. I don't think they catch anybody. The Lakers, they behind the Lakers by 4 games. And with Austin Reeves and Luka, they've been holding the fort until Bron gets back. I think Bron will be back next week. So that train will keep on going. So I think everybody keeps the Clippers at bay. Number 9 seed, I actually think the Dallas Mavericks will move up to the 9. The Suns are playing terrible. I don't think they catch up. And I think Sacramento falls to 10. But I think Dallas actually moves up to the 9. They get AD back. AD's down in the G League, warming up, getting ready to play some 5-on-5. I think they get Daniel Gafford back as well. So I feel like they will win enough games to get that 9 seed. And PJ Washington is back too. And they got the 3rd easiest strength of schedule remaining in the West. So those are some winnable games. They're going to be excited to play. I think AD wants to make a statement that he is not packing it in, even though players are hurt. I think he wants to show that he is there to play for Dallas and play for that crowd. So I got Dallas getting in the play-in. I think Jason Kidd is going to coach the hell out of them, and they get the 9 spot. Sacramento is going to fall to that 10 spot, right? And it has nothing to do with them playing bad. It has everything to do with how tough their remaining schedule is, all right? They still got to play Cleveland twice. They got to play the Bucks. They got to play the Celtics. They got to play OKC, right? So they got to still play the top tier teams in the NBA. They got to play Denver again. So they just have the toughest remaining schedule, and I don't think they're going to win these games because even though those teams are top in they're top in the conferences, they're still trying to win games. Denver's still trying to get a 2 seed, right? Cleveland, they may get Cleveland in one of them games because Cleveland may rest all their guys depending on what time or when they play Cleveland. Boston may play all the way through, right? Because they want to secure the 2 seed. The Bucks are trying to get up to a 3 seed, so they're going to play everybody. So it's just they're between a rock and a hard place, the Kings. So I don't think they win these games. They actually fall down to the 10 seed, but they stay in the playoffs. I don't think they get knocked out. All right. In the East, the Orlando Magic. I think the Orlando Magic jump Atlanta and get that 7 seed. They got Paolo Banchero back. They're starting to rev up, move in the right direction. They just stopped the Cavs' 14-game win streak the other day, and I think that's going to get them some confidence, some momentum. They feel like they can beat teams, and I think in that 7 spot, they can beat the 8 and get in the tournament. They feel really good about their chances playing against they would get Boston. I don't know if they want to play them. They may want to get the 8 seed and play Cleveland, but either way, I think Orlando is going to jump Atlanta, right? They're 1 game behind Atlanta. Let me see what we got. They're 1 game behind Atlanta, and they got 2 more, and they play each other 2 more times. So they got ample opportunity to leapfrog the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks fall to 8th, right? Obviously, if they're switching with Orlando, they won't fall any lower than 8 because of their strength of schedule. They got the 3rd easiest schedule in the East, and they're 3.5 games over the 9th seed. So I just don't think Trae Young will let them slip that much. Losing DeAndre Hunter to Cleveland was a big blow, but I think they'll stay at that 8th seed. They're just too many games ahead of everybody else. Now, the Heat will get the 9th seed. They'll stay there. They'll grind it out. They got a bunch of home games left. I think their next 13 games, they just lost a tough one to the Knicks on Monday. Their next 13 games, 9 of them are at home in Miami. So I think they got a clear path to win some games. So I got them actually staying in that 9th spot. And I think they'll be fine there. And then the 10th spot, I'm a Bulls fan, man. But again, I don't believe in the Bulls. Sorry. So I think Toronto will actually jump them. I hope I'm wrong. But again, I got to be honest with y'all. I think Toronto leaps them. I think they jump over the Bulls for that final spot. Toronto has the easiest schedule probably of any team in the NBA remaining. That's why I think they jump the Bulls. They still play the Bulls head-to-head. Who do Toronto Raptors got left? They got the Hornets twice. Let me see what we got. The Wizards, the Nets twice, and the Spurs twice. All right? Those are remaining games. All those teams are probably tanking, right? They know they ain't in the playoffs. The Hornets got like 20 wins. So Toronto can win those games and jump over the Bulls. The Bulls remaining schedule, they got the Cavs, OKC, Denver. They still ain't played the Lakers yet. They get the Lakers twice, and they got to play the Kings. Sacramento is fighting for a playoff spot in their own right. Plus, you got DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. They probably want to get some get back on the Bulls. Everybody want to kill their old teams. So I think the Bulls are just set up for failure from a scheduling standpoint. They still got to play Toronto head-to-head. I think Toronto leaps over them and gets that 10th spot. All right. So again, y'all let me know what y'all think about where I have the 7 through 10 spot in the play-in. I got Golden State at 7. I got Minnesota moving out of the play-in and going to 6. So I got Golden State at 7. I got the Clippers at 8. I have Dallas at 9 and Sacramento in the 10 seed by the time the playoffs start. And then in the East, I have Orlando at 7, Atlanta at 8. We have the Miami Heat take the 9 spot, and Toronto still in that last spot from the Chicago Bulls. So again, y'all let me know what y'all think. The X Factor Sports Podcast. We're always on YouTube and Rumble every Wednesday night and on all the audio platforms. Tonight, we are on every single social media platform we have in collaboration with PodcastThon. Thank y'all for tuning in. Okay. So now that we got the NBA out of the way, we're going to go to what y'all all been waiting for. All right. We're going to reveal the bracket. And I'm going to tell y'all who I have winning each region, and each regional champ goes to the Final Four. So this is my prediction. If you don't have your brackets in yet, I guess you can follow along with me and get your brackets written down, and we can roll with that. All right. So let's do it. In the South region, okay, we're going to go with the number 1 overall seed. We got Auburn there. So here, Auburn will beat Alabama State. Congrats to Alabama State for winning last night, right? First NCAA tournament win in school history. They play against Alabama. They probably play each other in the preseason, I'm sure, but Auburn will win that one. Louisville against Creighton. This will be a good game because Creighton is good, but Louisville, they're playing in Lexington, Kentucky. That'll feel like a home game. Louisville probably feels a little bit snubbed for getting the 8th seed. I think they come out and ball. So I got Louisville winning that. The 12-5 game, this is my first upset of the tournament. If you know anything about me, when it comes to March Madness, I love 30-win teams that get in the tournament. There are not very many of them. Remember, 68 teams make the tournament. I think only like 6 teams in the tournament have 30 wins, right? It ain't easy to do. So I tend to fall in love with the teams that win 30 games. UC San Diego is one of those teams. They have 30 wins. Michigan is going out to Denver after a hard-fought Big Ten tournament. They did win the championship, but they got banged up in the Big Ten. They got to fly west, play in altitude in the first game. It's a late game. They're out of their time zone. UC San Diego is used to playing on the West Coast. 30-win team. They can score the ball. I'm taking them for the upset. That's my first upset on my bracket. I got UC San Diego. Texas A&M and Yale. I actually considered Yale. I think I do have Yale. I'm going to look at my bracket. Yep. Actually, yeah. I'm going to have another upset. So I'm going to have a 12 versus 13 in this game. I'm going to take Yale to upset Texas A&M as well in the South region. All right. And then we got Carolina against Ole Miss. I got Carolina beating Ole Miss in this next round. Again, they are auditioning. They hear all of the noise. They hear the podcasters like me. They hear the pundits on TV. They hear social media. Everybody laughing at them about barely making the tournament. But you still got to respect Carolina, right? They're a good enough team. And I feel like they are playing angry, right? And when they play like that, they can probably beat anybody. And I don't think Ole Miss is going to be prepared to play North Carolina. And I think North Carolina getting a game already under their belt in the tournament is going to help them out, as if they need any more help. But getting that one game on Tuesday, I think will actually catapult them in this round to beat Ole Miss. So I got UNC winning that one. Iowa State and Lipscomb, I got Iowa State winning that. Marquette over New Mexico, and then Michigan State over Bryant. The next row, Auburn will beat Louisville. I know it is in Lexington, but Auburn's just a superior team. Again, they have a appropriate fear because they got bounced early last season, right? I don't think it'll be like a Purdue redemption thing with Zach Edey and them, but they do have some appropriate fear. They want to get out of these first rounds and get to a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 appearance. So I actually think they come out and ball. Again, the first game, they get that out of the way. They may be a little nervous and tentative, but then they roll against Alabama State. But then I think they settle in against Louisville. Louisville will have all of their fans there. The whole school might be at this game, but I think Auburn is the better team. So I'm picking Auburn to win that game. Then UC San Diego and Yale. Again, UC San Diego playing against a 13 seed. I think they advance. I don't know why. I like 30-win teams. So I'm going with them. Again, West Coast, they're still playing over there. They're used to the altitude. Yale from the East. They're going to deal with some of that in that A&M game, but I think they'll be jacked up to win. I think A&M will, it'll just be one of those games. Yale has a bunch of shooters, so that's always a good recipe for an upset. You got good guard play and good shooting. I think they're a good recipe for that. So I think UC San Diego matches them with the points. I got them winning that next round and going to a Sweet 16. Then we got what we got next. UNC against we had UNC winning. So UNC against Iowa State. All right, I got UNC making a Sweet 16. So the reason they're going to win this game because I think Iowa State's best player is out. They're good enough to get out of the first round. I don't think they're good enough to beat a North Carolina without their best player. So they go home. And then I got Michigan State beating Marquette. That's going to be a great second round matchup, but I think Michigan State will be too much for them, too much defense. They move on. Then we get to the Sweet 16 in the South region, Auburn and UC San Diego. I'm going to go ahead and San Diego, y'all had a nice little run, Cinderella story. I got Auburn getting up out of there and getting to the Elite Eight. Going against Michigan State. Michigan State beats Carolina in the Sweet 16, and they move on to the Elite Eight to face Auburn, and then Auburn beats Michigan State. So in this region in the South, I have Auburn, the number one seed, actually advancing and going to the Final Four. Again, all these brackets that you see, shout out to The Athletic for the graphics. I'm using those. And the South region, we have Auburn beating Michigan State to get to a Final Four. Okay. Over to the East region, where Duke is the second number one overall seed. I got Duke winning the next game, advancing to the second round. Mississippi State, Baylor. I'm taking Mississippi State. I don't know how Baylor got in the tournament. 14 losses is crazy. The next one, I got the 12-5. No upsets here. I think Oregon wins this game. This game is actually in Seattle. So they're back home essentially. So I got Oregon winning that one. The next one, Arizona and Akron. All right. A lot of people are on Arizona. A lot of people have Arizona going to a Final Four even, right? I got on, it looked like I got on Arizona colors almost right now. But I'm picking Akron. So this is my second upset. Big upset, I guess, is Akron. No, my third. I had Yale winning. My bad. I have Akron beating Arizona in this matchup. Again, Akron, if y'all haven't seen or watched the MAC tournament or watched the MAC at all, they went crazy in that tournament. They scored over 100 points, 90-some points in another game. They are a high-scoring team. They're one of the best scoring teams in the country. And I don't know if Arizona is ready for that in the first round. That might scare them a little bit. So I'm going to go with Akron with the upset over Arizona. Then VCU and BYU. And this one, what do we got here? I think I went back and forth. On another bracket, I got something else. But I'm going to go with VCU. I think their toughness, their defense, going up against BYU, they stop the three-point shooters, get them off the line, play physical. I think VCU beats BYU, 11-6 upset there. Wisconsin beats Montana. Then we got St. Mary beating Vandy, and then Bama beating Robert Morris. All right, and we go back up to the top. Duke playing against Mississippi State. I got Duke winning that game. Just too powerful. They're too big, too strong, too much defense. And Cooper Flagg, he might not play in the first game, although I would play him. All right, so let me back up. I would actually play Cooper Flagg in the first game. I know there's a lot of talk about him not playing. I would get him some minutes just to get his feet wet. He's a freshman, first tournament experience. He can play limited minutes. We don't need him to win the game. It ain't even about him playing for us to win the game. It's about him getting comfortable because he has to play the next day against a better team or 2 days later on Sunday against a better team, right? And you want to have some sort of rhythm. So I'd give him 5-6 minutes each half, right? Get his feet wet. I let him start the game, let him play for the first, to the first 4-minute timeout, the under 16 timeout, give him a break, let him get in like the under 10, get him a couple more minutes. And I would do that in both halves just to get him comfortable, get used to the rims, running on that ankle, get some confidence. And then he plays in the second round, and then they beat Mississippi State. That's what I would do. All right. Then the next one we got Oregon and Akron. Okay. I got Akron again, right? Akron might be a Cinderella team. I got the 13 seed getting to a Sweet 16 and going to Newark, New Jersey. So Akron, Ohio, putting up points. They put up numbers all year. Y'all can check their stats. They're a good scoring team. I like them. I got them upsetting Oregon as well and Arizona, two old Pac-12 schools getting beat by a MAC school. Then the next one, what we got here? VCU and Wisconsin. All right, Wisconsin beats VCU. Again, two tough teams, but Wisconsin plays in the Big Ten. They got size. They got a nice little guard I like. I think they beat VCU. Then we got Bama beating St. Mary. St. Mary ain't played a team like Bama. Bama can put up 100 points on you like that, right? So Bama wins that one. And then we got the Sweet 16. Duke beats Akron. And then Wisconsin loses to Alabama. So we got Duke and Alabama in an Elite Eight. And that will be a good one because both of these teams can score. Now, if you watch the X Factor Sports podcast, I do a segment called Bet That. All right. And that's where I do like a 4 or 5 leg parlay. And we talk about teams, who we think is going to win, who's covering spreads, yada, yada. A couple weeks ago, Alabama played Tennessee at Tennessee. I picked Tennessee to win, even though Alabama scores a lot. Tennessee defends. And that's one thing Alabama doesn't do well. All right. They can score 89 points, but they'll give up 88. And with Duke, Duke's one of the highest scoring teams in college, but they're also one of the best defensive teams in college. And for that reason, I got the Duke Blue Devils moving on to the Final Four. So we got our second 1 seed coming out of the East region, the Duke Blue Devils. Okay. Let's move to the Midwest region. All right, where Houston is the third number 1 seed. And I got them winning their first round game. Then I got Gonzaga beating Georgia. Clemson over McNeese. Used to be McNeese State. They changed to McNeese, I guess. I don't know. I'm dating myself. But I got Clemson winning that game. Then in this one, High Point and Purdue. Okay. Some about these 13s. I guess for me, my bracket ain't a 12-5 upset bracket. It's more of a 13-4-13 upset bracket because I got High Point winning this game. And I'll tell you why. It's very simple. I don't trust Purdue. Simple as that. I don't trust Purdue in the tournament. Go back and look at their history. Other than last year, the Zach Edey year, I don't trust them in the tournament. I like High Point here. Again, High Point, they 29-5. You don't just win 29 games, right? You go through a lot of adversity to win these games. You got to be really good to win 29. I think they come in ready to play. Let's see where they playing at. They're in Providence, Rhode Island. Okay, they're in the Northeast. I got it upset. Call it what you want. I'm taking High Point to win that game. Okay. Illinois beats the winner of Texas and Xavier. I got Illinois winning that game and advancing. I got Kentucky advancing as well. I got UCLA over Utah State. And then I got Tennessee over Wofford. All right. We go back to the top of the bracket. Houston beats Gonzaga. Just the toughness alone. Gonzaga, when they play against tough teams that are outside of the Mountain West, they struggle. So Houston's one of the toughest teams in the country, and they got shot makers. I like Houston. Clemson ends the Cinderella story on High Point. High Point gets 1 win. Clemson's a good basketball team as well. They were the number 2 team in the ACC, the only team to beat Duke in the ACC this year. I got Clemson beating High Point. Then we got a pretty good round of 32 matchup, Illinois and Kentucky. Playing up in Milwaukee, Illinois will have that on lock. Plenty of fans will come. And I got Illinois advancing because they score a lot of points as well. They got a nice European big that I like. So I got Illinois advancing to the Sweet 16. I got Tennessee beating UCLA. And I don't think that game will be particularly close. All right. I think Tennessee handles business early, get UCLA out of there. Then we go Houston and Clemson in the Sweet 16. I got Houston going to the Elite Eight, and I got Tennessee beating Illinois. Their defense is tenacious, and they play tough as well, and they got some shot makers too. And I'm going with Tennessee. And then the Elite Eight matchup. This may be the best Elite Eight matchup out of all of them. All of them are going to be big time, but this one I think will be great. You got two great coaches, two great point guards, right? Two great defensive teams. I got Tennessee upsetting Houston and getting to the Final Four. My 2 seed out of the Midwest region. This game may go into overtime even. I think it's going to be a classic. I got Tennessee beating Houston to get to a Final Four in the Midwest. And then the last region, we got the number 4 or the number 1 seed, the 4th number 1 overall seed in Florida in the West region. Florida beats Norfolk State. The 2-time defending national champs, UConn, they come in kind of pissed off. They play like Dan Hurley. They got his personality. I got UConn beating Oklahoma. For some reason, Memphis is an underdog against Colorado State. I don't see it. That kid, PJ Haggerty, is cold. All right? Cold-blooded. If y'all watch the American Conference Tournament, he had a 40-some point game. He averaged damn near 30 in the tournament. That dude cold. So I got him getting the game, and I think he'll get this one. So no 12-5 upset here. I got Penny and Memphis moving on. Then we got Maryland and Grand Canyon. I got Maryland beating Grand Canyon. Here's my other upset. The 6-11 game, Drake over Mizzou. All right. This reminds me, so we talked about this at Poker too last week, because Drake has all of these kids that are from Missouri. They're from the state. The coaches are from Missouri. These might be kids that wanted to go to Mizzou, they wanted to be recruited by Mizzou and got overlooked. This is going to be their championship, for lack of a better term, right? If y'all remember a few years ago, Wichita State beat KU in the tournament, and that was like their highlight of their life game. I think it's going to be similar with Drake. I think they play a team that they probably looked up to their entire life, and they come ready to play. Mizzou's kind of limping into this tournament, and Drake is not. Drake is a 30-3 team. Again, a 30-win team, highly motivated, playing against Missouri. All these kids are from Missouri. I think they got all the motivation they need, all the bulletin board material they need to win this game. So I'm taking Drake over Mizzou. Texas Tech. I like JT Toppin. I got them winning. This game won't be close. KU and Arkansas. 2 big-time Hall of Fame coaches, Bill Self, John Calipari. Bill Self gets him again, and KU advances over Arkansas. Arkansas is still a year away, right? They got a bad draw playing against KU. I think Arkansas is good, but not good enough to win this game. So I'm taking Kansas. And then we got St. John's advancing past Omaha. Go back up to the top. Florida and UConn. Florida ends the back-to-back reigning championship reign over the NCAA. UConn goes home. They lose to Florida in the second round. Memphis and Maryland. All right. So I like the PJ Haggerty kid, but they're playing against a Maryland team whose starting 5 averages the most points in the country. So if we're talking about getting buckets, it's 1-on-5. Maryland defends well too. I'm going to take Maryland over Memphis. Penny is out by the second round. Drake and Texas Tech, they expend so much energy beating Missouri. They're not ready for JT Toppin. They get up out of there. Texas Tech beats Drake. And then KU loses to St. John's. All right. You just went from one Hall of Fame coach in John Calipari beating him to Rick Pitino, another Hall of Fame coach. And I don't think KU has enough. And it's very simple. St. John's is tough, defensive-minded. They play gritty and grimy, and KU soft. So in this game, St. John's forces you to play the game the way they want it to be played. You got to play it on their terms, and I don't think KU is fit enough to play it on their terms. KU loses in the second round. All right, Then we get Florida and Maryland. I got Florida winning that game, getting to an Elite Eight. And then I got Texas Tech. Again, this team is good. They're really good. All right. They're the only team that beat Houston in the Big 12, right? They got a guy that can go get his own. They got rebounders. They defend. They got shot makers. St. John's will need to make shots, and they don't have the firepower to make them against a scoring team like Texas Tech. I got Tech going to an Elite Eight and playing against Florida. And then I got Florida beating Texas Tech. It will not be enough against this team. This team looks confident. After winning the conference tournament in the best conference in America this year, they're riding high. I think they take that momentum on to the Final Four in San Antonio. So there you have it. We have our Final Four set, okay? It will be Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Tennessee in the Final Four. We got 3 SEC teams and an ACC team. That conference has been so dominant this year. And the regions that they're in, I just see the matchups going this way. You guys let me know what you think. Am I crazy? Do I not know what I'm talking about? Am I on to something? Make sure you put your brackets in before tip-off on Thursday morning. All right? I want to thank y'all for tuning in to the X Factor Sports Podcast. You can catch us every Wednesday night. We're on YouTube and Rumble. And if you just like listening to audio, you can catch the audio on all platforms that allow you to listen to podcasts. This episode is a special one because we're doing it with PodcastThon, the X Factor Sports Podcast. We are one of 1,600 podcasts all over the world that is involved in this marathon from last Saturday until this Friday. They got us up in the middle. And the cool thing about PodcastThon is this. They've dedicated all of the podcasters have an episode where they're donating to a charitable cause. Ours is dedicated to the American Cancer Society. And for all of those who are battling with cancer, family, friends, loved ones, we want y'all to stay strong. Okay. Before we get out of here, we always do that 2-minute warning, and we always connect sports and life and all those struggles that people are going through. So this 2-minute warning is for the American Cancer Society and those who are dealing with it. I have people close in my life that are battling with cancer. I have uncles that have passed. I have current uncles that are battling it. I have second mothers that are battling it as we speak. And just want you guys to know that I love you and we want to wish you well and that you stay strong. Your family's behind you. You know, cancer doesn't just affect the people that have it. It affects them the most, but it also affects the family and friends around them that are close and that love them. So we just wish that y'all stay strong and fight. People, we want to bring awareness to the American Cancer Society. We want to bring awareness to this disease. And for all those who are fighting for it and donating and playing a part of finding a cure for it, we thank all of those people for that as well. All right. This is Jay Mondane of the X Factor Sports Podcast. If you like the gear, go ahead and click on the QR code. You can always hit me up on social media as well. We got all shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, all colors and sizes. We even got hats. I actually only got one gray hat left, and then I got to order some more. So if you want that last gray hat, you can holler at me and get that one. But always check out the gear. This summer, we will have T-shirts coming back. We got brand new quality for y'all. So check us out. Always catch the X Factor Sports Podcast on all social media platforms and on all audio platforms as well. All right. Thank y'all again for tuning in to the X Factor Sports Podcast. Thank you to PodcastThon for collaborating with us and dedicating this show to the American Cancer Society. This is your host, Jay Mondane. Look forward to seeing y'all next week. Season 7, episode 8, where we see how good our bracket was after the first week. All right. Hopefully I ain't burned it by then. I'll see y'all later, man. Peace.